Welcome to the Arsenal Show. We are live, and I'm joined by my co-host tonight. It's Jerome Marks. How you doing, Jerome?
Evening, yeah, fine. All right, thanks.
All right. We've got plenty to discuss tonight. We're going to be discussing Arsenal's transfer rumours coming up already. We're getting towards the end of that season. And you know what happens at the end of the season, or even close to the end of the season, you're getting transfer news left, right, and centre, ins, outs, roundabouts, the lot. We've got some news. Apparently, Kieran Tierney, the Scottish international left back, is sparking the interest of Real Madrid. We've not had Real Madrid interested in any of our players in a while, so it obviously means we're doing something good. Potential Arsenal incomings, news that Arsenal may be targeting Benfica and Uruguay international striker Darwin Nunez. We'll be looking at that one. We'll also be looking at the news that Arsenal are interested in England and Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford. We're going to be looking at the pros and cons of a deal going there, whether it would even happen in the first place, and what would be good and what would be bad about the deal. Also going to be looking at a player to watch. Apparently Arsenal are after Feyenoord and Colombian winger. So Jerome's going to give us his thoughts on that. Yuri Tillemans also linked. Who would be good for that number 8 position? And we're going to be looking at, if we do have enough time, we're going to be looking at the remaining fixtures and where Arsenal could potentially pick up points or what could be a banana skin. All right. First and foremost, Jerome. Real Madrid, it seems they've made a decision that they want Kieran Tierney as their long-term replacement for Marcelo. Apparently, Carlo Ancelotti is a big admirer of Kieran Tierney, and even at his time when he was at Everton, there was links with Everton, interest from the Italian. So it seems he's taken that interest to his current club, Real Madrid. Now, the price tag that Real Madrid are reportedly interested in paying Arsenal is £50 million. First and foremost, what's your thoughts on Real Madrid's interest in Kieran Tierney?
Well, I don't know the Madrid squad sort of the ins and outs of it exactly, but I think they've already got a pretty good left back that plays for Madrid. And in all honesty, I can't see it happening. To be honest with you, like you said, it's a good sign that Madrid are interested in our players again. But that amount of money, 50 million, I don't think it's. If you were to sell Tierney, I think you'd probably be looking for a lot more than that. And we're not, we don't have to sell Tierney. I think people might look at the money and think, actually, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So maybe let's do it. But when you think about, you then have to replace him. And although Tavares he's played quite well so far this season when he's played. You know, you're selling your number 1 left back, and he's still got plenty of years ahead of him, Tierney. A lot of people think he's going to be the captain, don't they? Or he's got a good chance of being the captain.
Yeah.
But no, I can't see it happening, and I think Tierney seems quite settled as well.
Yeah,
like obviously, we are, in terms of personality, we don't know too much. We just sort of know what we've said, what we get shown, but. He seems as though he's a type of guy that would probably like to stay in Britain rather than like go abroad. He seems like comfortable. He probably, he can visit his family in Scotland, quite a bit when he's in England. So I can't see him making the move. Also, with obviously the Spanish league's a lot more technical as well, isn't it? So I don't know if that would suit him perhaps as much playing out in Spain.
Yeah. It looks like they're playing a couple of makeshift left backs in. They brought back Marcelo. He's back in the team. Nacho's been playing at left back. So it seems they are looking for a long-term successor for that position, someone to hold down that position a bit more regularly. As you were saying, do you feel like £50 million is enough for what Kieran Tierney brings to Arsenal, and do you think they would be able to replace him with that 50 million?
Well, I think I saw something the other day that 50 million that would probably be the record for a left back.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Cancelo might have been something similar to that, perhaps.
50 million seems to be the amount that Man City pay for
everyone.
Everyone, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So they could probably get a replacement Arsenal, but it's not a. I think there's other areas of the squad that are more at the forefront at the moment, and if you add a left back to that, and you've got to go and search for another first choice left back, it just adds more work, really, doesn't it, to the squad?
Yeah.
If the number was ridiculous, then perhaps you'd consider it. But I think for 50, it's not. I don't think it's really sort of enough to tempt Arsenal. I don't think. So I can't see it happening. To be honest, I mean, what would you think is like a reasonable figure?
I'm with you, mate. I don't want. I wouldn't sell Kieran Tierney at all. It wouldn't even come across in my mindset to think about selling Kieran Tierney. 50 million does seem a lot for a fullback, but as you said, how much is it going to cost to replace him? And would you be getting that caliber coming in straight in? I'm sure there's probably people thinking you can get in 50 million for Kieran Tierney. You've made a 20 million profit on the amount you've paid for him, and you can stick in Nuno Tavares in there. But we don't know how good Nuno Tavares is over a longer period of time. We haven't got Nuno Tavares equivalent to then slot in as his backup or competition. So for me, it's not a deal that I would even think about at all. It's not. It would not a chance would I be thinking about selling Kieran Tierney.
You know what it is as well, Kieran? I'll tell you what it is as well, is that he offers something in our squad, like the type of player he is and like his attitude and like his work ethic. Like maybe he's not the most technical player, but you know what it's like. These squads and these teams, they need like these types of players around, and you'd lose a lot from that side of his game, I think, if he was to leave.
And what's your thoughts about the potential that Kieran Tierney could be the captain next season? Would that be also be playing on your mind as to a reason why you wouldn't be thinking of selling him?
Yeah, possibly. I guess. I mean, I think we're in a better position now than we were maybe a year or so ago in terms of potential candidates for the captaincy. So maybe if Arteta has in his mind that he wants him to be the captain, then I think that's just another reason not to sell him. And also, I'll tell you what it could be as well. The cynic in me is that Arsenal on quite a good run at the moment. We've built up some quite good momentum, and maybe it's the media trying to sort of cause
derail us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cause a bit of tension between either the fans or the players, and put little stories out there that might upset the team, and that could be it as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. For me, no. If Real Madrid are interested in Kieran Tierney, I don't think we should be selling right now. I don't think he's one of our top players, although he hasn't had the best season. He's had a good season, I think. Still, I think defensively he's looked a bit better. Going forward, he may not have been as exciting as previous, but I think that's part of his development. Is maybe concentrate a little bit more on his defensive side of things, and then bring back a bit more of the Kieran Tierney that we've been used to.
I'll tell you what it is as well, is if you go through the Arsenal sort of strongest starting 11, which we all probably know what it is, most of those players, if you were to link those players with anyone for any amount of money, most of those players, you'd be like, no way, I'm not selling him, no way. With Tierney, it's not as strong as a no way as like a Saka, Gabriel, Ben White. Yeah. No, I mean, you could make a case maybe for Tierney perhaps, but like you're scraping the barrel sort of thing, bottom of the barrel, because the others are just like, for me, that a lot of them are like unsellable, really, to be honest.
How good would a replacement for Tierney have to be? Who's out there at the moment that you've seen that you could think Do you know what? I would cash in on Kieran Tierney and potentially bring in this player. There's no one else off the top of my head that I can think.
Nah, can't think. None of like the England sort of left backs. I don't think you'd want. Yeah, you'd have to really get the old scouting videos out and trawl through left backs. And he like Tavares is good. Like he's a very good understudy as well. Like I think we're good. Like let's not touch our left backs and focus on other areas to try and improve perhaps.
I think you might have been right here. Jordan's saying Real Madrid already have Mendy and a good left back in Gutierrez, who looks better by each game. If I'm Arsenal, I wouldn't worry. It goes back to what you're saying previously with this derailment. No, it almost feels like no one wants to see. It's not no one. Arsenal fans like to see Arsenal fans happy, but there's always someone else out there that wants to stick it in there and wind us up a little bit. So I feel like you're going to get a lot of stories about this, whether it's Kieran Tierney, whether it's players coming in, whether everything's going to cause an argument, everything's going to cause is going to be traffic because Arsenal fans love a story, whether it's true, false, or in the middle. They love a story. Hello to everyone. Nice to see you there, Melvin. Good to see you there, Johnny. Good to see you there, Stephen. Good start, and Jordan as well. Thank you very much. Everyone who's joined us so far, smash that like, smash that subscribe button. Good to see you. Get in the chat, get lively, because it's about to go down. Now, Darwin Nunez is the next one we've been linked with. It seems like Newcastle also interested in the Uruguayan. West Ham were linked with him in the January transfer window. However, they couldn't come to terms on a deal there with regards to, I think it was the price tag, I think, in the end, West Ham buckled at. But reports went out earlier this week that Arsenal's technical director, Eddie, has made contact with the representatives of Nunez ahead of the summer transfer window. It was reported in the Telegraph that claims that Newcastle amongst the other clubs, along with Manchester United and West Ham. Nunez is set for a big game against Liverpool next month. But it also seems as the Uruguayan would want to stay in that competition as well. So if there was any truth in that, if Arsenal were interested in Darwin Nunez, they would have to be in the Champions League to get the player. For anyone that doesn't know what Darwin Nunez is like, Jerome, you had a little look at him. What's his characteristics? What's his profile?
Yeah, so he's quite an interesting striker, Nunez, because especially from an Arsenal point of view. So I guess when it comes to a striker that the Arsenal fans want or that we think we're going to get, we're looking at maybe a combination of sort of maybe a target man that can also run in behind. Maybe someone like that. Nunez this season, he's scored a bucket load of goals. He's like a top scorer in the Portuguese league, and it's just some attributes. He's actually, when he's played in the Champions League this season, he's clocked up, I think, the fastest time out of everyone. He's faster than Salah, Kyle Walker, who's notoriously quick. He's clocked up quicker speeds than them. He's been likened, obviously, because of his nationality, to Cavani. But I think he is that type of player where he's not really a target man. He drifts out wide.
He's a big guy, though, isn't he?
He's big. He's about 6'2".
Yeah.
This might sound a bit disrespectful. He's a bit of maybe a bit messy in terms of his touch. Perhaps he's not like a clean, like say a Robin van Persie whose touch is so clean and precise. He's not that type of player.
Yeah.
But he is like a Cavani, whereby he doesn't really get massively involved in the build-up. So Arsenal are looking at that sort of striker that can maybe get involved a lot and drop deep, linking with the midfield. I don't think he's that type of striker. I think he's just one that is a bit of a goal machine. Not so clean with his technique, but very effective. Very good in the air as well, actually. Okay. If you see a couple of his headed goals, they're ones where you look at him, you think, yeah, he knows how to head the ball, this guy. The price tag seems a bit steep, to be honest with you. But he is young. He's scoring a lot of goals.
They're talking about in the realms of about, 80 million euros, 60 million pounds, they're saying around that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you're looking at like around the 60 million mark. Obviously another one that young, lots of potential. And when you score those amount of goals, I think like 20 odd goals or something in the league, like it just gets you noticed, doesn't it? And also he's done it against a couple of big clubs. He scored against Bayern Munich, scored against Barcelona. So that gets people talking as well.
Is he a player that you would like to see in an Arsenal shirt, or is this not really the striker that you think could potentially replace Lacazette as the main man?
It's so hard because the striker for Arsenal is so important that if you're going to spend 60 million, you got to get it right. You can't really afford to make that mistake, and especially if he's going to be like your number one. Yeah. And if the second choice is like a long way behind in terms of quality, so I'm not massively convinced, but like if you read the reports on him, like people do rave about this guy.
He's scored a lot of goals.
He's scored a lot of goals. He drifts out wide a lot. He's very quick.
Bit of an all-rounder as well. Can score.
Yeah, he's an all-round. Yeah, exactly. He's an all-round. Like I said, like a Cavani, like someone like a Falcao as well. I think the Colombian player, like that type of striker, like all action, lots of movement, busy.
How many forwards do you think Arsenal need to bring in this summer? Because it looks like they're going to be losing Eddie Nketiah, although we've said many a time he's not quite Arsenal's level. They're going to be losing Alexander Lacazette. Is Balogun ready? Does he need another season out on loan, or is it time for him to come back in and potentially be a competition and a squad player? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for Balogun, for me, I went to the game that he played. I know it's hard to judge players off of one game, but when we played Sunderland in the Cup, and for me, he just looked miles away from being a first team Arsenal player. So I think if he was to be a member of the first team squad, for me, it'd be a massive surprise if he was to sort of not play a big part, but play a good part and play well in our first team. But that would really surprise me for next season. And I don't think you can really count on that, especially if we're going to be especially dependent on what if we're going to be in Europe, what level of Europe we're going to be in. If we're going to be in the Champions League, then that's just another level up, isn't it? Yeah. So I think you've got to be looking at bringing in at least two high quality forward players. And also what you got to remember is there might, the manager's not a massive fan of Pepe, it seems. So whether he leaves the club or not, perhaps. And I know we've got Reece Nelson on loan. I'll probably come on to him later in terms of speaking about another player that Arsenal are linked to. But Martinelli's position, what's that going to be next season? Smith Rowe's position. So, but you've got to be looking at least two quality attacking players.
Yeah, I
think bare minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I think I remember when we lost Robin van Persie, and although we're not losing the Robin van Persie, it's that kind of importance now. It's like I'd rather bring in two right now, and I've got two that one of them's that's slightly aggrieved that he's not playing week in, week out, but I can see who's the best and see who works, and rather than just getting that one and sticking all your eggs in one basket. And we're in the same situation now, or even worse, because although Lacazette's not scoring goals, he is bringing a lot of link-up play, and when he's not in the team, he's a big miss. I think it's a massive summer. In fact it's our biggest summer, especially after having such a positive transfer window last year. We can't mess it up and derail potentially what we've done so far all this season. Yeah.
Also, like rotation's important. Like you don't want to burn out your players like Saka, Martinelli.
Like games as well.
They've played so much football. They can't keep doing it, especially if there is going to be Europe next season in some capacity.
Yeah. And what think about it? Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you want that competition as well, like to keep players on their toes and keep them hungry.
Yeah, if you think about it, like Wingers are, you've got Martinelli on the left, you've got Saka on the right, you've got Smith Rowe that plays on the left as well. If he's not really feeling Pepe, then you need another right winger and of a level of Saka, if not just below, for that competition. We need another player who's going to come in and be competition for Saka. Because although he's had the benefit of playing a lot of games, it's going to come to a point where he's going to end up burning out. And the last thing we want is having no Saka for 4 or 5 games because he's fatigued or he starts to pull up on injuries. Let's go to the comment section and let's see what Johnny's saying. I'm trusting the recruiting of Arsenal for the first time in a long time. The last 150 million spent has probably seen the value of most of those brought in doubled. Yeah, not far off.
I think that's the key word. I think he's hit the nail on the head there. Like in terms of, I think the Arsenal fans probably trust maybe Edu and Arteta a bit more, even if we bring a player in that maybe we haven't heard of or isn't so familiar to us. I think everyone's going to give them a chance, and instead of moaning, "Oh, we've never heard of this player," they'll be like, "Oh, well, they've brought in like a Tomiyasu who no one had really heard of, and he's turned out to be pretty good." So, I think there is more trust there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's what Arsenal used to do. It's what I love. I love seeing an unknown player coming at Arsenal because the chances are like they're going to be of some talent. So I like to see what they're bringing in, what they could bring to the team, what potential they have. But I think it's the players that we do know. I think is going to be the what might cause a bit of uproars and a bit of division with our fans because you've got. I mean, I've seen a comment there. We'll come to your one in a second, Johnny. But we'll come to that comment now. I personally, I'll wait for it. But yeah, there's players that have been linked, which we're going to get onto in a minute, who people know, and I think we've also got a way of trust in the recruitment there as well. Yes, we may have seen them here and there or week to week by watching other teams play, but they've obviously seen something in that player that they might be able to get something decent out of, i.e. what we didn't see in Ramsdale, but they did see. So we may see that with some of the players we're going to talk about next. The next players that's been linked with Arsenal, which has already caused a stir on the internet over the last few days, is Marcus Rashford. England international Marcus Rashford. And Arsenal have been urged to sanction a summer transfer for the Man United outcast. I wouldn't say he's an outcast. Marcus Rashford has struggled with goals this season, but Arsenal are apparently interested in signing the Manchester United star. He's only scored 5 goals in all competition this season after losing his regular spot in the process. He's been under 2 managers this season. Out of the last England squad, Jerome, Marcus Rashford. What's your thoughts on that news? First of all,
I heard this somewhere else that Rashford it's a bit like a bit Welbecky in terms of that type of player where he's not really a centre forward. He's more like maybe on the left wing, perhaps. For me, if you sign Rashford, that's just purely like for squad depth, because I wouldn't start him instead of Martinelli, and I don't think he's not good enough, but he would be our sort of main striker. So for me, if Rashford would just be like, you just add him like as a bit of depth to the squad. I don't know if maybe he sort of peaked like a couple of years ago, Rashford.
Yeah, and he's like 24 now.
Yeah, he's only 24. Crazy. Like normally he shouldn't be peaking for another couple of years, but he's just going through such a hard time at the moment.
Yeah,
that it makes it hard to say, like I want him, like let's bring him in. So I'm not convinced. To be honest, I think he seemed to be much more of a dangerous threat earlier on in his career. So I'm not, also he's like proper Manchester boy. I know that shouldn't really make a difference, but
for me it does.
Yeah,
for me it does a little bit. It has a bearing on it. It's not. It wouldn't be the be all and end all. And yeah, look, I like Marcus Rashford. I think he's a good player.
He ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he?
He
Kieran?
does tick
like
a
in
lot
terms
of boxes.
of like age, attitude as well, like his type of personality. Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Can score goals. Yeah, like
score goals from anywhere. Can
he
score
ticks
any
a lot of
type of
boxes.
goal. Yeah. But and it's a big, massive but. I think this would be a non-starter straight away. Would Arsenal be interested in? Maybe. As you said, he ticks a lot of boxes. If we're looking at the cons to it, it's his form this season. But if you look at previous seasons, he's been very, very good. He's not clinical, so I don't think he could be a main striker. However, Arsenal do need. I think Arsenal do need two strikers, and I think Arsenal need two very good or top quality strikers, either of potential to be world class or coming in and being top class now. I think one of them needs to be a main striker. The other one needs to be a bit of the hybrid winger, striker, could play anywhere across the top three. And I think Marcus Rashford suits that. However, for me, it's a non-starter because he's had one bad season. He's hit some bad form. We all saw what he went through in the summer, where he's had no pre-season. He's been with the England team, missing the penalty, the abuse, the dogs of abuse that he got, the abuse that he even got from the politicians, where they were telling him to concentrate on his football and things like that. Those are things that sort of may get into your head. Others may beg to differ on that. However, he is young. He's very aware. And I don't think these players these days ignore what's said in the media or what's said online, or they see it. And to ignore it, you have to see it and to hear it. So it's going to affect you in some way. I think that he just needs a full pre-season with Man United, and I think he'll be back to the form that you've been seeing him previously. I don't think one bad season is enough to contemplate selling a born and bred Manchester boy that's come through the ranks and has been one of the best players in your team over the last few seasons.
You know what? I think it shows as well. Like, if we were having this conversation a couple of seasons ago, we'd probably have all said, let's bring him in. He's a good player.
I wouldn't even thought about it. I'd have been like 100% bring Marcus Rashford in.
I think it shows you like our standards now are really, really high, and to even have a conversation, and probably I reckon if you ask most Arsenal fans, they would probably say as well, like, not sure, maybe not. Like, our standards really in the last, you can call it since the beginning of this, like maybe since September, October, like they've really gone up. And I think we're not being we're being like a bit like fussy maybe now in terms of signings, whereby we really want that top quality, and if it's not that top quality, we're a bit like unsure.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think I think that's a good thing. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's good. As you said, I think a couple of seasons ago we'd have been jumping all over this. But it's interesting you said before he may have peaked a little bit early because James, who's on the Man United show, is also on United View. Yeah. He used to watch Marcus Rashford in the youth team, and he said Marcus Rashford wasn't prolific. He was just a really energetic, pacey forward that would always cause the defenders danger. They're always putting defenders on the back foot because he's just a constant threat. But he was never known as a prolific striker. It was only when he came into the first team, he scored in his debut. The next game he played, he scored against Arsenal, and he's just been on a roller coaster ride from then. But the roller coaster's just gone up, and now this is the first point where it's really started to go down a bit, and people have started to question his ability. His ability is still there. I don't think that's in question. But is he the striker that Arsenal need? I don't know. I don't know. If we were to buy him, if we were to bring him in, I wouldn't be annoyed. I wouldn't. Yeah. As I said previously, I think a lot more trust is in Arteta, Edu, and the scouting team. And if they've earmarked Marcus Rashford as a player that could elevate Arsenal, then I'll back them all the way on that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what the comment section say. Plenty in there. I've missed a lot. What we're saying. Jordan's saying, I like Nunez, but the price tag is really the factor. I do think 2 forwards is crucial, especially if Pepe leaves. We've seen Guapo and Nunez linked. I think next week we'll have Jerome have a look at Cody Guapo from PSV. Really good player, winger, tall. It's interesting. If you look at all the players that Arsenal are linked with, there's like 3 categories, and they all seem to be slotting into those 3 categories. There's like the short, quick, nippy, goal scoring, can play either on the wing or the striker. You've got the forward who's not an out and out target man bully, but he's either got good technique or he's more of a target man player. And then you've got the hybrid. You've got the players that can play on the wing or up top that are quick, skillful. So it does seem like we're sticking to that sort of profile, which it's good. It means that we've got the scouts on the case, and it's not just sporadic buying or links. I do wonder if Everton are relegated, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin can be brought in at a cut price, or as a false 9 like Felix and Kaku, a road they go down. A lot to think about. And Saliba's situation too. Jordan, you're killing me, mate. We got plenty to talk about with you on, mate. Keep it coming, mate. 100% we'll be talking about Saliba soon. I don't think we're going to do it this week because I think that needs a lot of research and a good session. It maybe in a couple of weeks we'll do that one once we know a bit more about the situation at Marseille. First of all, while we're on that one, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, you've looked at Darwin Nunez. What would your thoughts be on a Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
Well, I guess this season hasn't helped in terms of his form and being our sort of main, our main striker. He hasn't exactly had a fantastic season. I think he's been injured for large parts of it. Hasn't scored too many goals, and he's in. Let's face it, Everton aren't having the best of seasons, are they?
He's only played 10 games this season in the Premier League. Oh.
Yeah, so it's hard to look at that and be convinced that he's going to be the main man. Like with a lot of the other players we've spoken about, he's got really good attributes. But would he be our main starting striker? I'm not sure. Maybe as a backup, perhaps. But I know that's not a fantastic thing to say. But I'm
expensive backup.
Yeah, I'm unconvinced. Like, I wouldn't spend like silly money on him.
You put English tax. I mean, even on transfer market, his transfer value is currently 37.8 million. Which, if you're going by that, you got to add another 20 million on top of that.
Especially, I'm sure Everton will take into account the fact that we sold Iwobi to them for quite a lot of money, and they'd probably want to sort of just as you're drinking your tea, and they probably want to get their own back on us, so they would, they'd probably charge us.
Yeah, but to be fair, Iwobi's been one of their best players recently. It's been all right for them.
Their last game because he scored, but apart from that, I think Andros Townsend's been keeping him out of the team.
Iwobi had his moments. He's not bad. He's not that bad. Only having a laugh. All right. What's Johnny saying? Johnny's saying Ollie Watkins is a gooner and he's been linked. What's your opinion on him, Kieran and Jerome? What's your thoughts on Ollie Watkins? So far we've got Darwin Nunez, Ollie Watkins, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I can't lie. Apart from Darwin Nunez, and after hearing a little bit more on him I'd like to hear, Jordan, I'd like to hear what you would have to say about Darwin Nunez, mate. Because I know you are a big fan of world football in general, mate. I know you're a savage for that kind of stuff. For me, one of the three would be Darwin Nunez. I don't there's something about Dominic Calvert-Lewin that worries me. He wasn't prolific. He's not a goal scorer previously. Under Ancelotti, it changed because he was told to shoot more. Now, I'm sure that mindset's not going to leave him if he was to come to Arsenal. But I don't know. I don't know whether he's the player that's going to propel Arsenal into that top four and potentially, once we get past that, into that challenging for the title position. And I think that with the player that you're buying now, if he's of a certain age, he needs to be that. Otherwise, we're only talking about 2-3 seasons of if we get top four, we want 2 or 3 seasons of top four, and then we're going to challenge for the title. He's going to still be about. He's going to be that man. I don't know whether he is that man. I don't know. What's your thoughts on Ollie Watkins, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and the lot?
Yeah,
I didn't get onto Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins, he sort of falls into that maybe Rashford category for me, whereby he's okay. He'd probably be a good squad player in terms of having a striker, but to be our first choice, not for me. And one of the reasons is that, when you play against teams, like obviously we watch the Premier League, so we see how Ollie Watkins does in the 2 games he's had against us. And for me, without being disrespectful, like you sort of barely notice him. He's not one of those players that you're sort of frightened of, perhaps, where you really fear them. And I think that we need that striker whereby, like, if we was to play against a team and their striker, like, you thought, we're in for a game here. Like, this striker's worrying us. And I don't think Ollie Watkins is the type of striker, although he's got some good attributes, whereby you'd be like, I don't want to play against this guy this week. I think that's the sort of player that we need, really.
Yeah.
Someone that can cause a bit more threat.
Yeah. As for Ollie Watkins, for me, I didn't even get onto him. I was talking about Calvert-Lewin there. As for Ollie Watkins, nah. For me, I'm with Jerome. I've watched Ollie Watkins, and I think he's a striker that is mid-table to top 6. So you're talking mid-table to 7th spot. But I don't think he's top 6. I don't think he's top 4. I think if he plays in Europe, he might bully a few teams, but I just don't think he's the required quality.
I think he's at his level. I think he's at his level at Villa.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he is at his level, and I think, this is no disrespect because Villa are a very good team in the Premier League. He's full of top players who are in from bottom of the league to top of the league. So it's no disrespect for Ollie Watkins. I just don't think Ollie Watkins is the player to take Arsenal forward.
It's coming back to our standards again, isn't it? Now, like, our standards are really quite high now. So, that's why we're sort of saying no to these.
In the nicest way possible. Most people have gone like, "Hey, crap, he's a dog," but no, we're trying to do it in the nicest way possible. For me, Ollie Watkins. Ryan Fitzgerald has said Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Victor Osimhen. You seen much of Victor Osimhen, Jerome?
A little bit, not a great deal. Again, not in the Nunez category in terms of not being like a really clean player, but another one that is very like productive and is a bit of a menace up front, like leggy, mobile.
Yeah.
I think, again, another one that would come with a massive price tag, because I think Napoli spent a lot of money on him, didn't they?
They spent 70 million on him, but apparently they are looking to get their money back on him, and that's it. You know what Italian teams are like, they're just skint, so they might spend $1 billion 1 second and then just need to get some money back to buy a pint of milk. So, Napoli apparently are willing to sell Victor Osimhen, and at the similar price to what they got him for. I like the look of Victor Osimhen. Again, I need to see a little bit more of him. I'm not going to pretend that I watch him week in, week out. And I think that's for us, for me to make a clear and concise opinion on a player. I would have had to see him a good few times, full games as well. Alexander Isak is a player I've watched a little bit more, and he looked quality the other day for Sweden, although they lost, I think it was to Poland 2-0. But Isak was a constant thorn in the side. I think he won a penalty. He looks a very good player. He looks slightly slight very thin, looks a bit lightweight, but
yeah,
his skills and his vision, he's definitely a star for the future.
we've gone on to Isaac very, very quickly. Something that made me think that maybe he isn't the player that we're going to go for is that I think Arteta mentioned, and I guess it goes without saying that like the striker we're going to buy, like they need to like score quite a lot of goals. And I think Isaac's only scored like 4 or 5 goals this season. Like as a striker, like
I think people are saying don't look at Isaac this season for goals because he's lost. Right. He's not only lost Odegaard from a couple of seasons ago, but he's also lost another player who's apparently consistently setting him up, and they worked really well together. But look at his previous seasons as to when he has scored. Maybe that's worth looking at. But I know what you mean. But I wouldn't see Isaac as the main one anyway. I think I'd like to get Isaac and another striker, a different type of striker. But again, you're looking at a 70 million, 60 million price tag for Isaac, and Arsenal aren't paying 70 million
for their second choice.
For their second choice striker. Exactly. It's just not happening. Another player we're linked with is Luis Sinisterra, finals Colombian winger. Arsenal reports say Arsenal was set to make an offer for the player, who's had an absolutely devastating season so far. Can you tell me a little bit more about him, Jerome?
Yeah, of course. So, he's only just very newly come to light, I suppose, in terms of being a name that's been thrown out there. But so, alluding to Reiss Nelson earlier, I believe this is the player that's sort of keeping Reiss Nelson out of the team. You can't not look at his. Firstly, his numbers are fantastic in terms of not only goals but assists. It's not every game, but nearly every game he either scores or assists. Like his numbers are fantastic, and it's very hard not to be impressed. Not only by that, but when you watch the clips of him, I think he looks fantastic. A player that plays mainly on the left, so you're looking at like the sort of Martinelli role. Quite short in terms of stature. Maybe I think 5'8". For me, his like superpower is his sort of dribbling ability, keeping the ball close to him, beating players. He reminds me a little bit of a hybrid between Mane from Liverpool and a bit of like Sterling as well. That sort of mix in terms of the way he plays. Obviously knows where the goal is as well. He's well into double figures in terms of his goals. In some fantastic goals as well. Like watching the clips from him this season, he's super impressive. And I think the numbers as well in terms of the transfer fee that's been floating about. I think Final signed him for like £2 million a few seasons ago.
Yeah, 1.8 mil.
Yeah, and you're looking at less than 20 million. I think would be the cost to bring him in. Really impressive. Really glad that we had a look at him. Because I think the clips look great. What do you think?
I think he looks like a very exciting player at 22. I didn't realise he was keeping Reiss Nelson out the side. That says a lot. I mean, if you're looking to bring in a player, it's probably the player that's keeping out the player you got on loan to see whether he's got what it takes to come back to Arsenal and hold down a spot. His numbers are a joke. He's got scored in 38 games. He's scored 18 goals and got 11 assists. And yes, that is in the Eredivisie in the Dutch league, but he's also played in the Europa Conference League where he's got 3 goals and 3 assists in 7 games. He's also played in the Europa League qualifiers where he's played 6 games, scored 5 goals, got 3 assists. I don't know who they were playing. The Fox and Hound or something. Like he's devastating. It's definitely a player I'd like to keep an eye on.
You know what it is? It's those assist numbers as well, because with goals you can like be in the right place at the right time, or with strikers like it's penalties. But to get those assists and the goals, that is like super productive, isn't it? Like, and that's what you want. And sometimes that doesn't come for a young player until later on in his career. But he's doing that at 22. I don't think there'll be a lot of 22-year-olds, no matter what division they're in, that have got those sort of numbers, like from a winger, not a striker, like a winger. Really impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. Keep an eye on this player. And Jerome will be checking out Cody Guapo for next week's show. Steve says, was Isaac be any better than Pepe?
Yeah, so different type of player, isn't he? Isaac, I think, is more of a centre forward than Pepe. When I've seen Isaac play, he gets super involved in the build up. Like, if anything, he gets more involved in the build up than actually being in the box. I think it seems as though like he enjoys that part of the game. I think he's not like your centre forward that just loves scoring goals, like maybe like an Alan Shearer type. He's not that sort of player. He's very technical, wants to like showcase his skills on the ball a bit, getting involved in the build up. I think because Arteta's got such a way of playing a particular way, it's hard because you've got to try and envisage that player being in like an Arteta team, and that's where it's tough, because any player that is out there now, you've sort of got to not forget what they're doing, but the way they're going to be playing with Arteta is probably very different to how they're playing now, and so it's really hard to envisage any player really in the team of Arteta, even like a Calvert-Lewin. We sort of know his attributes, but you don't know how it would work in Arteta's team. That makes it even harder to guess sort of which striker we're going to go for.
Yeah, I agree. I think the easy ones are to envisage a player who's playing in a similar sort of setup as what Arsenal have currently got. There's not too many clubs out there. I mean, maybe not similar setups, but players that can play intricate football, that play to a specific. It's not stick 11 players on the pitch and it's gung ho or free reign. It's meticulous. So you're looking at Barcelona type teams. You're looking at a Man City type teams. Maybe some of the technical teams in France. Maybe a couple of teams in Holland from Ajax. Maybe potentially PSV. I don't know. Maybe, but it's hard. It's really hard. Italy as well. An Inter, a Juventus. It's not easy to think who could slot in this team, and even then, with the links of the likes of Lufario Martinez, it's hard to think. Yes, he looks good in Inter Milan, but I don't know how he would fit in at Arsenal. I'm sure he would, but it's very, very hard. Next up, Arsenal's number 8 position currently being filled by Granit Xhaka. He's doing a job there, but that's not a long-term option. Been linked to Yuri Tillemans. Is he a player that would interest you, or is there any player out there that currently playing at number 8 that you think Arsenal should maybe be looking at?
I think the one that I'd probably love, who is probably quite unrealistic, but I think would, JB.
I knew he was going to say Jude Bellingham. I knew it. Everyone wants Jude Bellingham.
He'd
be perfect, though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think that sort of player that could complement sort of our team very well and has got the sort of the physical attributes that you need. I think Grealish was talking him up maybe today or yesterday. I heard Grealish talking about him, saying that for someone that's 18, he's never seen such like maturity in a player.
It's a joke, isn't it? I can't believe he's 18.
Yeah, saying that he could play in a variety of positions, and with that sort of player next to Partey, that's the sort of thing they would do. There'd be times when they'd be deep. There'd be times when they would be moving further up the pitch, and I think that's the sort of player in that position that Arteta would need and would want. Sorry, he would be perfect. Tillemans is undoubtedly a very nice technical player. Whether he's got the sort of
discipline,
perhaps mobility that I think we would probably need, because if we've got Xhaka there at the moment and you're looking for an upgrade, then you're looking at maybe some things in this player's game that Xhaka hasn't got, perhaps. And I think one of those areas is the mobility side of things.
Yeah.
And for me, Tielemans isn't that type of player.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not convinced, and I think he'd probably cost a lot of money as well. Tielemans. Also, we've got Sambi, who might be quite maybe a similar player, perhaps. For me, again, maybe a couple of years ago, Tielemans would have been nice, but I think, do you think Jude Bellingham's realistic, or is that?
I think Jude Bellingham is the most unrealistic player besides Declan Rice. Declan Rice, a team of Declan Rice, Haaland, and JB are the most unrealistic signings that Arsenal could potentially ever have. But while there's no link saying that we're not getting them, that we are getting them, I'm going to dream big. Yeah.
You know what, Kieran? I saw like some clips of him having like having a laugh and a joke with Ben White, and I thought, aye.
That's it. Science still delivered, mate.
Yeah, done.
Postman Pat, like, boom, have some of that. Like, this is what I mean. I want that profile of player, young, composed. But what I like about Jude Bellingham, is he's humble, but he also knows how good he is, and he also knows he's like. It seems like he's beyond his years. Like when you see him on the pitch, he's got this fire in his belly, and he's pointing here, there, and everywhere. He's barging people out of the way. You don't see him as an 18-year-old, and you don't see him that he's been playing for Borussia Dortmund for like a year and a half, nearly 2 years now. Like it's ridiculous that he was already.
You're right.
That he was already one of Birmingham's best players at such a young age. He's gone to Dortmund. He's now, since Jadon Sancho's gone, probably one of their best players. In England, he's probably one of their best midfielders, and he's only 18. It's frightening.
He's got a proper a winner's mentality when he plays.
Yeah, he has. He's
a winner. Yeah,
he has. Hopefully, like I don't think we should be having conversations about any player not coming to Arsenal. Like we should be in the conversation. It's not a case of we shouldn't even be thinking about bringing that player in. Yes, there's players that are slightly more realistic than others, and there's some players that it feels like it's probably never going to happen. And on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably at a 1 or a 2. But still, I want to talk about the potential of having a Haaland at a team. I want to talk about the potential of having a Jude Bellingham in our team. I don't think a Jude Bellingham is out of the question, but it would just depend on who else is going after him.
I'll tell you why this position is so hard. I think is because really this position that Arteta wants this player to play in, it's not a new position, but it's that type of position where not a lot of teams play with a player that does that type of role. They've either got like 2 centre midfielders that just sit, or they've got like an attacking midfielder. It's very rare that you've got this type of player that plays in the team. So even like a Tielemans, this wouldn't be like a position that he's played in a lot of. I think it's a rare position, and that's what makes it hard as well. Like Xhaka, this isn't a Xhaka, even though he's playing in it. That's not really the position that Xhaka plays in. He's more deep than this, so it makes it harder as well to think of players, because there aren't loads of natural players that scream at you that they play in that position.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a very tough position to fill. It's a specialist position, because that player needs to be it's like a true box to box. Yeah, like a Steven Gerrard box to box. Like the player needs to be able to win the ball back, have good energy, but be a great passer of the ball, can dribble, because he needs to be able to take the ball from either defence or central midfield and take it forward. He needs to be a ball carrier, like what Ramsey was. But he also needs to score goals and pitch in with goals and get assists. Like this player is going to be one of our best players on the pitch, if not our best player, apart from the striker. Like that, this player is crucial. It's a massive position. And they've got to link up well with Odegaard. They've got to link up well with Xhaka. They've got to link up well with Partey and the full wingers. Like, it's a massive position. I don't think Yuri Tillemans fits that. I do like him, but I'm with you. Why go for a Yuri Tillemans when we've got a Granit Xhaka who sometimes we're complaining about his lack of mobility, and you're bringing in a Yuri Tillemans who can get turned on the ball and has a lack of mobility sometimes. However, he does counteract that with his positioning, his vision, and the fact that he can score absolute screamers. But I don't think he's the man for us. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't want to hear about a Basuma. Get it out. Like we've got Thomas Partey. Don't even that Basuma train is gone. Move on. Yeah. Our favourite love story of Aouar. No, don't do this, Jordan. We don't want to hear about a Hossein Aouar. Like, look, realistically, is a Hossein Aouar the right sort of mentality that Mikel Arteta wants in the team? I don't think so. Should we be completely steering away from anyone that may be a bit of trouble or have a bad attitude? I don't think we should. But I don't think that Hossein Aouar is that guy. Like he's had us chasing for a summer. His brother was messing us about. So you missed out, mate. And now you have to maybe start again at a Newcastle, or you have to start again at a team a lot lower down the table. You have to start at Lyon because your end goal was Juventus, and I don't want to hear that. Like, nah. We've moved on from that. Vitina was at Wolves, wasn't he? I don't know. I didn't see too much of him. I know he's looked a lot better since he's gone to Porto and Liverpool. Yes, they have been linked. But yeah, not one for me. Lastly, before we go, Arsenal beat Brentford 4-1 in the behind the closed doors game against Brentford B. Lacazette got a hat trick, so sweet. Back to scoring ways. Hopefully, he's going to be back now. So if anyone has got a link to that game anywhere, send it over. Thank you very much. But we will have a little look at the league table. Jerome, what is it? 10 games left we've got this season. Some tough games. We've got the likes of Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham, all teams that are around us, all teams that are vying to take points of us. But the next 3 games we've got Crystal Palace away from home, Brighton at home, and then followed by who is that next? We've also got Southampton away from home before we face Chelsea away, Man United at home, West Ham away from home. Three big games that could really push us forward in the league and put a sort of a gap between the other teams that are chasing us. That'll be a mental gap which will also give us that sort of leverage as well. Thoughts on these next 3 games? How many points do you think they get from them?
I think you've got to be looking for at least 7 points. I think where we are now, obviously, there's not a massive gap, but there is a bit of a gap, and I think that we don't want to be in the position whereby we have to beat Spurs away. I think it's better for us if we're in the position whereby maybe Spurs have to beat us when we play them, or United have to beat us. I think at the moment we're in, obviously, we'd probably rather be in the position we're in than the others, but mate, it's going to be so tight. And yeah, these 3 games, like if you can pick up 2 or 3 wins out of those, then that sort of stands you in good stead for those tougher games. But like you lose a couple of these, and then you're like chasing it again. So
yeah.
I think these 3 games, there's like a week in between each. I think whereby when we come to the games after, then it's like a Saturday, Wednesday job, and that is going to like stretch us as well.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
What do you think? It's hard.
Three massive games. It's tough. Look, Crystal Palace away from home, never an easy fixture. In fact, we generally lose it or draw it. It's a proper bogey fixture. Like that ground is the closest I've seen to any sort of, European atmosphere when it gets going. They have the stadium absolutely rocking. They've got like some of their home brigade are like ultras, just smashing against the windows. Because I was in the press box one time, and it's quite frightening, mate. When you like you've got fans banging on the window, they're just chanting, mate, and you can feel the ground rocking. It's not the nicest place to go. Patrick Vieira's he's worked wonders with that team. He's getting them playing in a way that I know Steve Parish will be very happy about, but also keeping them in a respectable position in the league as well. They're currently in 12th position, which is very good for them. So I'm sure there's no doubters at the moment for what Patrick Vieira's done. But we've got to get 9 points. We have to. I don't think we can afford to drop any points against them, because we've got a very tough game against Chelsea. We've got a very tough game against Man United. Yes, it's at home. Yes, Man United have been up and down, but I think that game, when we come up against these big teams, it's going to be. There's a couple of players in the team that when we come up against big teams, I feel I want to see them have a big game. Saka's one of them. Maybe surprising a few people. I've mentioned his name because he's been exceptional over the last few seasons. He's been exceptional this season. He's been unreal to the point where sometimes he's played a very good game or just a good game, and then people are like, I don't think Saka was at the races today. And it's like, well, he did get a goal and assist, but they're the highest standards we've got of him. But I've noticed in games, I can't remember the Man City game, but I noticed the Man United game we played, the two Liverpool games we played, the game last season in the Europa League semi-final. I know I'm being harsh here, but I just feel like he sort of plays within himself. He's not playing bad. I just think that he could play with a bit more confidence. He could be running at players a bit more. Like the last game we played against Liverpool, I feel like Robertson was there for the taking. But Saka didn't really go for it. Whereas if he'd done what Martinelli was doing, I think that he would have been like he would have put Robertson into retirement, because Robertson was on his heels at points, but Saka wasn't making those dangerous runs forward. He was looking for the overlap from Cedric a bit more, or he was looking to maybe go down the wing when I think he could have been looking to go more in the box and twisted up Robertson a bit more. And I think once he gets that out of his head, once he has that confidence to take on anyone and thinks that he is unstoppable against anyone, then I think that's when he's going to finally hit his peak, or not his peak, but he's going to smash through that ceiling, that glass ceiling. And I think we'll see like one of the best wingers on the planet in Saka as well. The Manchester United game is going to be an interesting game for me. It's a massive one. For me, it's one of our biggest rivals. Like we've got Tottenham, but that's because they're our local rivals. But there's been no rival that's stood the test of time like Man United has. That for me is a real big game. West Ham, we don't know if they're going to be in contention towards the end of the season. It's another big game. And then obviously we've got Tottenham as well. Tottenham, it's going to be a tough game. If we get a point from that away from home, I'll take that. We just can't lose. We can't lose against Tottenham. We can't lose against Man United. And we have to make sure that we do make up those points when we are playing against the likes of Leeds, Southampton, Palace, Brighton, and so forth. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I've seen some new names in there. Let's read this out before we go. Please press that subscribe button. I'm sure you already have. For the number 8 role, did Arsenal make a mistake by selling Willock? Personally, I don't think we did. What's your thoughts on that quickly, Jerome?
Yeah, I agree. We got a good amount of money for him. It was always a bit underwhelming in the sort of Premier League games when he played. He done all right in Europe and the cup competitions, but we weren't really sure what position he was. Again, I think we're aiming higher, to be honest, at the moment.
Yeah. Jordan says my personal choice would be Marcos Llorente. So much energy, plays multiple positions, experience with party, and can score on Liverpool. Well, we'll see. Lucas Paqueta, former AC Milan, now currently at Lyon, if I'm not stand corrected. I think you looked at him previously, Brazilian international. Good player, Jerome.
Yeah, lots of skill, bit flash. Played with like that Bruno Guimaraes, who Newcastle signed in the midfield. How he would do in the Prem, not sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we will be taking a look at all your players. So that you want us to take a look at that you think should be suggested for the potential striker role, the right wing role, or that number 8 position. So keep it to those three positions. Hit us up in the comment section on Twitter, whether it's in the comment section on YouTube. Throw the names in there, and we'll have Jerome look at them week by week and give his personal opinion on those and player profile. All right, thank you very much for joining us tonight, people. The comment section is absolutely buzzing. The live chat tonight, absolutely love it, people. Thank you very much for that. If you are new to the show, press that like and subscribe button. If you are watching on Twitter, we started halfway through. You ain't getting the full show on Twitter anymore, people. Join the chat, join the live. Hit that the link that I put below the show that's going out on Twitter now, and join us in the live chat as well. Yes, Paul Belez, what are you saying? I'd love to see Gnabry back. Would you like to see Gnabry back? Do you think that would be the right person to be bringing back to Arsenal?
Yeah, I'd love to see Gnabry. We didn't really see the best of him at Arsenal at all, did we? He left before his time, and again, brilliant player. Obviously, would cost loads of money, but as a player, would be great to see him. But he's a bit old for us now, isn't he? He's 26 or something. That's quite.
If I'm not correct, I think he's either got a year left on his contract, or his contract runs out in the summer. I think it's a year left, and I don't think he's. I think the offer on the table at Bayern Munich is not of his fancy, so I think that's why the links are coming out again. And obviously, Gnabry, he loves to play to the fans, doesn't he? So I think he didn't rule it out.
Yeah, I know we've said no to a lot of players tonight, but for Gnabry, I think I'll give him a yes.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So we'll be looking at players next week. Make sure you join us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for joining us, Jerome.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure. Cheers, Kieran.
No, and thank you very much for joining us in the comment section. Press that like and subscribe, people. Peace out. Stay safe and wash your hands.